Good cop, bad cop, vampire, punk rocker, quite the CV. Welcome to Watch Mojo UK, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 Gary Oldman scenes.
Before we begin, if you enjoy this video, be sure to subscribe for more great content.
For this list, we'll be counting down the most memorable moments from the acting career of Gary Oldman, from the outright emotional to the downright intense. Number 10, Hands Up, State of Grace. In what is an incredibly bleak film about gangsters, Gary Oldman's Jackie Flannery supplies a few moments of comic relief, with this scene in particular being a hilarious highlight.
Check this out.
Showing Sean Penn's Terry Noonan his stashed decoy hands in the fridge, Flannery goes on to tell him how their fingerprints can be used to throw off the cops.
You take your hands and you take your gun, but you put the prints on the gun, you stash it. The cops find the gun. They're looking for a dead man.
But as he tries to explain himself, he can't help but crack up. Teasing Terry with the hands, they both end up in bits.
Oh, that's on his head! You scared? Get the all right, hands up!
Number 9, The Oswald Interview, JFK. Oldman gets a fair bit of screen time in 1991's JFK, but we wanted to draw attention to this short interview snippet. Bombarded by journalists after being accused of assassinating Kennedy, Lee Harvey Oswald is questioned about his involvement. And Oldman's likeness to him is uncanny, with familiar facial expressions and speech patterns that prove the actor clearly did his homework.
I really don't know what this situation is about. Nobody has told me anything except that I'm accused of murdering a policeman.
And in 30 seconds or so, he totally sells us on the character. At a glance, you may be fooled into thinking it's archive footage of the man himself.
Seems pretty cool to me for a man under pressure like that.
A policeman hit me.
Number 8, Karla, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. This multi-award-winning espionage film isn't the smash-grab explosive spectacle you may expect, but its charm comes in its subtlety, with gripping moments littered throughout. One of which is Oldman's Karla speech as George Smiley.
I give him the usual pitch. Come to the West and we can give you a comfortable life. After questioning.
Playing out more like a touching theatrical monologue, Smiley relives an encounter with his nemesis, and the room seemingly disappears around him, with the camera fixed on his face and his thoughts.
We're not so very different, you and I. We've both spent our lives looking for the weaknesses in one another's systems. Don't you think it's time to recognize there is as little worth on your side as there is on mine?
A perfect example of exactly the right words delivered by exactly the right actor.
Never said a word.
Number 7, Product Demonstration, The Fifth Element. From serious to silly next, and Oldman's outing as Jean-Baptiste Emmanuel Zorg, a futuristic villain with bad hair and an inferiority complex.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Your time for revenge is at hand.
In this scene, he's showing off a new weapon of his own creation, ZF-1, a gun with more gadgets than a Swiss Army knife.
3,000 round clip with bursts of 3 to 300 with the replay button. Another Zorg invention, it's even easier.
And it's the charismatic way in which Oldman plays it, clearly getting off on the ingenuity of his own invention, rambling on like a dastardly version of Q from James Bond. You've got to love that flamethrower.
My favorite.
Number 6, A Shave, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Take care how you cut yourself.
Floating around in classic vampire getup could easily come off as a little cheesy, but Oldman manages to instill terror rather than farce. Take this scene for example. Walking in on Keanu Reeves' Jonathan Harker whilst he's shaving, let's not talk about the accent, he instantly puts us all on edge, lurking behind him straight razor in hand. The uncomfortable closeness, subtle hand gestures and the slow melodic accents, together with atmospheric lighting, is enough to send a chill up anyone's spine.
Transylvania is not England. Our ways are not your ways.
Number 5, Apartment Raid, Leon the Professional. To one of Oldman's most sinister roles, and his part as corrupt, pill-popping DEA officer Norman Stansfield.
Did you like Beethoven? Couldn't really say. I'm gonna play this out.
Breezing into all of his scenes like a ticking time bomb, this raid on an apartment is by far the most destructive. Storming through, a room at a time, picking people off one by one, it's not just that he's killing people, it's that he's clearly enjoying it. And the weird thing is, we kind of love to hate him. There's only a handful of actors who can pull that off.
That's why I stopped.
Number 4, Domestic Life, Sid and Nancy.
Find it! My action man!
Although this 1986 film shows us key stages in the relationship between Sid Vicious and Nancy Spungen, it's the fly-on-the-wall moments that are most memorable.
I'll never look like Barbie. Barbie doesn't have bruises.
Thanks to the electric chemistry between Oldman and Chloe Webb, who play the tragic couple, watching them laugh, joke, bicker and moan at each other is intoxicating.
I was bored! I'm bored now! Where's the bloody song?
This scene in particular is a roller coaster of emotions, from jokes in the kitchen to physical violence in just a few seconds.
I thought it was yours.
Number 3, Reason with a Tiger, Darkest Hour.
Nothing inglorious in trying to shorten a war that we are clearly losing.
Losing! Europe is still...
Europe is lost.
Bringing to life wartime Prime Minister Winston Churchill, Oldman sports a fat suit and a stormy scowl as he dominates every second of screen time in this electric Oscar-nominated performance. But this scene in particular gets our vote. With Lord Halifax looking to surrender to German forces, Churchill's determination to persevere boils beneath the surface as he winces and fidgets in his chair until he can't hold back anymore. And it's all topped off with an angst-filled analogy.
You cannot reason with a tiger when your head is in its mouth!
Number 2, Drexl Negotiates, True Romance. Oldman's take on the pimp Drexl in this crime flick written by Tarantino is proof that he can be simultaneously hilarious and terrifying, and completely unrecognisable.
Who the f*** are you? I'm her husband.
When Christian Slater's Clarence ventures into Drexl's dingy crib and ultimately threatens him, the scar-faced kingpin stays cool as ever, casually finishing off his meal. But don't let the leopard print fool you, he is one seriously scary dude.
I know I'm pretty, but I ain't as pretty as a couple of titties.
And after he's done listening to what Clarence has got to say, he completely loses it. And we thought Dracula was frightening.
Helping hand.
Number 1, Suicide Attempt, Chattahoochee.
I ain't coming out.
The fact that this film is based on the true story of war veteran Chris Calhoun, a soldier with post-traumatic stress syndrome, makes this scene all the more saddening.
Mr. Foley, let's all just forget what's happened.
Attracting the attention of police officers and holding himself up in a house, the film starts with Oldman's character Emmett confused and scared, assessing his options. Ultimately deciding to commit suicide, the scene doesn't play up to typical blaze of glory Hollywood expectations. It's unsensational, heartbreaking, and truly difficult to watch.
I'm gonna die now. No, I'm gonna die.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo UK and subscribe for more great content.